This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Tuesday, TBOY Tuesday, July 16th. And today's pod, out of all the pods, we've done a lot of pods. This is the best one yet. This is a TBOY.
This is the top 3 pop business news stories you need to know today.
But Yetis first, check the calendars. We are officially past the halfway point of the halfway month of the summer.
It's July 16th, so we have a little less than half of summer left.
Yeah, well, we still got a whole half of the summer left, don't we, Jack? So that means you got to do some things.
You got to do some cannonballs, you got to do a slip and slide, and you got to make a s'more. I know those were on your summer bucket list.
Yeah, so do 2 of them and always round up. We basically got a full summer left as we see it. So, Jack, 3 stories for today's show. What do we got, man?
For our first story, Harley-Davidson knows that millennials hate Harleys, but Harley thinks you'll change your mind.
Harley-Davidson is anti-millennial.
For our second story, markets reacted on Monday to Donald Trump's assassination attempt by sending stocks to all-time highs.
So Jack and I will tell you who's up, who's down, who, what, where, and why on Wall Street.
And our third and final story is Google. Google's reportedly about to make its biggest acquisition ever of Wiz.
The Wiz! They want to buy the Wiz because nobody beats the Wiz.
We're only going to call it the Wiz for the rest of this podcast, by the way.
And Google's buying them because in 5 years, every company will need
the Wiz. But Yetis, before we hit that wonderful mix of stories.
Fantastic mix of stories. Love the mix for the TBOY Tuesday.
How frustrating is it when some place only accepts checks?
There is nothing more annoying. Oh, only checks? Are you kidding me?
Think about it. Mailing someone a check requires a pen, a checkbook, an envelope, a mailing address, a return address, and a stamp.
Oh, and then Jack, remember, you only wrote on one side. You got to write on the other side, too. They need like a signature on the back and something else on the front.
And you definitely paper cut your tongue on that envelope, right?
Oh, and talk to us about the paper cuts. Oh, the paper cuts.
And then you got to go to a mailbox to drop these things in.
Well, here's the news. One big corporation just became anti-check.
As of yesterday, Target, also known as Target, will no longer accept personal checks.
Get this, as of right now, Target checkouts don't allow checks.
It's checkmate on the checks at Target.
But Jack, remember when we were kids and like mom would take us to aisle 6 and then like, oh, 1 sec, honey, I got to endorse the check. Oh, she was writing the whole signature on the...
I got to whip out my checkbook. Yeah, my Nana's going to be super bummed that she can't pay with her checkbook anymore.
Nana ain't happy about this. Yet soon, the only place that is still going to be doing checks is going to be the PGA Tour.
Those huge checks they give Happy Gilmore.
The only check left is going to be the biggest check left.
But now that Target has killed the check, we need to add the check to the gadget graveyard.
We need to add the check to the gadget graveyard.
The gadget graveyard. Products we grew up with that nobody uses anymore.
Jack, could we please pause the pod and have a moment of silence for... the floppy disk,
the business card,
the Rolodex,
and the scanner.
But of course, who could forget, and we would not want to forget, the 2010 Bose speaker with the outdated iPhone dock.
You can still use it, though, if you connect 3 dongles to your iPhone.
Yeah, toss that thing in the dongle drawer with all the other dongles you're never going to use.
So, Yetis, for TBOY Tuesday, we want to know from you.
What else should we add to the gadget graveyard?
Leave a comment on YouTube, Spotify, or Instagram for us.
What other products were lost in our millennial lifetimes in addition to the check?
And as we close, Nick is going to read a passage from Cardi B.
I was born to flex, diamonds on my necks, but nothing in this world that I like more than checks.
Check, please. Let's hit our 3 stories.
Let's hit them, baby.
15 years before this song, 2 boys from the Northeast met in the dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at-list. If you know, you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, Harley-Davidson's big strategy bet is to ride or die with the graybeards.
Harley-Davidson is targeting boomers today, and then millennials once we turn gray.
Harley thinks you're going to turn into your mom, is what we're saying.
Or your dad, yeah.
But yeah, it's funny thing Jack and I have noticed about Harley-Davidson. Harley-Davidson, they don't do customer surveys, do they, Jack?
1 to 5 stars? I put a tattoo of your logo on my bicep.
Yeah.
What do you think I think of Harley-Davidson?
Nothing screams brand loyalty like permanent ink on your forehead. It's a good look. But yeah, it is. Harley-Davidson, the brand, it can take you out back and mess you around a bit. It's a badass brand.
But Harley-Davidson, the company, they're kind of running on empty.
Hold on to your hog because sales at Harley-Davidson have fallen for 9 of the last 10 years.
Last year, Harley sold nearly half as many bikes as they did back in 2006.
Oh, and Jack, can you put it in reverse, jump us on the back seat, and tell us how the stock is looking over at Harley?
Over that 18-year period, the stock is down more than 50%.
Oh, Yetis, the bikes are loud, but the business is not.
At $5 billion, Harley's market cap is smaller than Lyft.
Add it all up, and Harley is looking more like Huffy.
Less Hell's Angels, more Charlie's Angels. Not in a good way.
So Yetis, Jack and I, we were curious. We jumped in T-Boy style. We checked out the numbers. Jack, what has gone wrong over at Harley-Davidson exactly?
If I had to describe it in 4 words, I'd say Harley-Davidson hates millennials.
Okay, if we use 3 words, we would say Harley hates millennials. Either way, you know what we're getting at. And that may be a problem.
Nick and I noticed that over the past 5 years, Harley made some strategic changes to their products and their prices that basically resulted in ignoring anybody who's under 40.
All right, Jack, let's talk about what they did. First, Harley-Davidson cut their entry-level models.
Then they eliminated the lower-priced Harleys.
And then Harley spun off their electric bike company into a totally different business.
Basically, all the things Nick and I might have been convinced to maybe try out.
I was curious about the electric bike.
They don't exist anymore at Harley.
Instead, Harley-Davidson decided to focus on their biggest, most expensive, most profitable big cruisers.
Basically, the love seats that ride on 2 wheels.
Yeah, when you see a Harley bike and it looks like a sofa with 2 wheels, that's what they're focused on selling these days.
Wall Street Journal calls it the graybeard strategy because that's who they're targeting. People with gray beards on their face.
Yeah, basically what Harley did was they got rid of the bikes with the metaphorical training wheels, is what we could say. And we are saying.
In Wall Street terms, Harley is putting profit above growth. They're selling high-end Harleys to hardcore fans.
In cultural terms, Harley is putting boomers over zoomers. They stopped selling the beginner bikes.
Now, Harley-Davidson, they blame millennials for this pivot that they made.
Yeah, why did they blame us exactly, Jack? This is pretty funny.
They told Wall Street Journal that younger generations are wary of risky activities, unlike their braver forebears.
I'm sorry I wear a life jacket when I go water skiing these days. I mean, like, we're wearing seatbelts.
I'm sorry I don't like driving 70 right next to an enormous Suburban that could tip me over with the tiniest nudge.
Either way, Jack and I discovered one statistic, one hero stat that says everything you need to know about Harley.
In 1990, the average Harley customer was 35. Today, the average customer is 49.
Full disclosure, you know my dad's got a Harley.
My dad used to have a Harley too.
Actually, my dad has 2 Harleys.
What?
You know what they call him when they ride into town?
Harley Hal? I don't know. His name's not Hal, but
I don't know why you said that. They call him Mike on the bike. It's kind of a great term, and I love it. I want to get on that thing.
well, it's his love seat, and there's 2 seats, so there's plenty of space for you.
So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Harley-Davidson?
Millennials will turn into boomers someday. That's Harley's big bet.
Yetis, Jack and I have shared a takeaway with you before about how a business can grow with its customers or it can stay focused on the same age.
Harley has decided to focus on the same age.
Yeah, we noticed Harley's big bet seems to be that you will turn into your parents. Millennials will become boomers.
So instead of offering entry-level products for young people, they're just waiting for young people to turn old and gray.
When I'm 64, Harley thinks I'll act like my 64-year-old father.
And buy 2 Harleys, apparently.
Despite our generational divide.
After all, you made fun of your dad's goofy sneakers, but who's wearing the New Balances now?
And you mocked your mom's beauty sleep, but now you're in bed at 8 p.m. on a Friday night.
And today, you think Harleys are huge, loud, obnoxious, and expensive couches on wheels, but in 30 years, Harley thinks you'll want to buy one.
It's a big, it's a huge, it's a risky bet. But that bet could drive Harley to sustainable profits if they're right.
Or it could drive them out of business someday if they're wrong.
Harley looks like they hate millennials, but really, they're just waiting for you to go gray. For our second story, on Monday, investors adjusted to a higher likelihood of a Trump victory in November by hitting new stock market highs.
This story has 2 business takeaways. 1 is the Trump stock bump, and 2 is the Trump policy trade.
All right, Jack. Wow. Things suddenly moving very fast in presidential election politics right now, man.
Yesterday, the Republican National Convention began with a whole bunch of speeches. Also yesterday, Trump selected J.D. Vance from Ohio as his running mate to be his next vice president.
And then Donald Trump's chances of getting elected soared over the weekend after Saturday's assassination attempt.
Because a 1-2 combo of powerful images could sway a critical number of undecided voters in November.
The first image was of President Biden, who looked weak in last month's debate.
And the second image was former President Trump looking strong after being shot at on Saturday.
Now, Jack and I were curious how things would shake out this week on Wall Street, so we checked the numbers. What did we check exactly, Jack?
Over at 538, a website that crunches election data and polls, they say that Biden and Trump statistically have a roughly equal chance of victory as of the data as of Monday.
But interestingly, betting markets say that Trump now has a 67% chance of likelihood to win, his highest percentage ever.
And Wall Street, they trust betting markets over pollsters.
Yes, they do. So, Jack, what did we see in the markets on Monday?
We saw Wall Street bake in a higher likelihood of a Trump victory in one big way, by boosting stocks.
Specific stocks got the Trump bump.
For example, gun stocks, prison stocks, and the stock of Trump's very own meme company, DJT.
Those all jumped on expectations Trump would loosen gun restrictions and tighten criminal laws.
And because Trump Media Corporation has become a proxy for his election chances, it's a meme stock for Trump.
But here's the other interesting thing. The entire stock market also hit a record high to kick off the week.
Because Trump policies, generally speaking, are just good for corporate profits.
First, if Trump wins, he would work to extend the Trump corporate tax cut.
Second, if he wins, he would cut more environmental and safety regulations like he did his first term.
And finally, just like he did during his first term, if Trump wins, he would increase tariffs on other countries.
Now, economists say that increasing tariffs would exacerbate our inflation problem. The impact of tariffs on profits are a little less clear.
But here's the surprise. Trump 47 might actually be different than Trump 45 in some really meaningful ways.
Because we've seen Trump flip on several policies recently to win support from different groups of voters.
For example, crypto rose on Monday because in his 4 years out of office, Trump suddenly flipped to become pro-crypto.
And TikTok executives, they're probably pretty relieved right now because Trump has flipped his position to become pro-TikTok.
But the way Jack and I see it, the biggest area of the economy and markets where Trump 47 could be different than Trump 45
is with electric vehicles.
It's actually with electric cars. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies who are everyone in the economy wondering what's going to happen in the election?
The biggest winner of a Trump policy trade could actually be Elon Musk.
Now, Yetis, Donald Trump famously said that climate change was a hoax created by China, and famously, he exited America from the Paris Climate Accord.
He's still very much pro-oil. He reportedly pledged a bunch of pro-drilling policies if oil executives would donate to his campaign.
So if you add up everything Jack and I just said, similarly, Donald Trump has historically been anti-electric car.
But on Saturday, as expected, Elon Musk fully endorsed Trump for president after his assassination attempt.
Yeah, and in exchange for that influential support, it wouldn't be surprising for Trump to reward Elon just like Trump rewards his other loyalists.
Like if Trump decided to boost Tesla, he could also frame that as consistent with his tough on China brand.
In fact, Tesla stock, it hit its highest level since October on hopes that Trump could flip to become pro-EV or at least pro-Tesla.
That's why the biggest winner of a Trump policy trade could actually be Elon Musk.
Hey Yetis, if you're a bestie, take a sec and hit that subscribe button.
And like this video while you're at it. If you leave a comment, by the way, we'll read it.
For our third and final story, Google is close to its biggest acquisition ever. $23 billion for a cyber cloud security company.
Because when everything goes digital, which everything is doing,
everything
needs a digital lock.
Now, Jack, how about we go down memory lane for a sec? It's always fun going down memory lane. You know, our old East Village apartment, hanging out together.
Do you remember in 2018, we were visiting Robinhood, considering selling our company to them. But we still had to record a podcast that day.
And Jack, what did we record a podcast on that day almost half a decade ago?
Bird. The electric scooter company had just done a fundraise and became the fastest startup ever to hit a $1 billion valuation.
But get this, Yetis. What Jack and I are about to tell you may be even faster than that.
Because in just 4 years, a company called The Wiz has gone from nothing to a $23 billion valuation.
The Wiz, a company founded by 4 ex-Israeli military guys just 4 years ago, is now worth 4 lifts.
And they did it with military precision.
Yeah, because in their first year and a half after launching the company, they were already doing $100 million in revenue a year.
That's wild. We should also point out the company's just called Wiz, not The Wiz, but we're going to keep calling it The Wiz.
Because if you know, you know. The Wiz is a cybersecurity startup, and it's about to have the biggest exit of the year.
The Wall Street Journal reports that Google is about to acquire The Wiz for $23 billion, which would be Google's biggest acquisition ever.
And this would double The Wiz's valuation from just the month of May.
Funny thing, though, that Nick and I should inform you about.
Yes, we should, Jack.
Google's got a thing for hummus, apparently.
Is it hot as a falafel in here, or is this the 9th Israeli tech company that Google has acquired?
Remember Waze? Like the alternative to Google Maps? That was an Israeli startup that Google acquired.
But now, Google may acquire The Wiz, which is also an Israeli startup, for 10 times that price.
So, why is Google spending more money to acquire The Wiz than they spent on YouTube?
Well, it's because there's a battle in the sky. Look up! Don't look up. Actually, you can look up because it's not in the real sky. It's in a fake sky.
What Nick's referring to is the Cloud Wars.
The Cloud Wars. It sounds like the next Star Wars movie, but it's actually has to do with the cloud. The digital cloud.
Because for years, Google has been a distant number 3 in the cloud computing market, trailing Amazon and Microsoft.
Now, you'd think Google has an advantage in cloud computing, given their customer base in Gmail and Google Workspace. Like Jack and I, we use Google Docs every single day.
But that advantage isn't translating.
No, it's not.
So Google Cloud is a huge corporate disappointment over in Mountain View.
Yes, it is.
Just 3% of Google's profit last quarter came from their cloud division.
On the other hand, 61% of Amazon's profit came from their cloud division.
On an absolute value basis, Amazon Web Services made 10 times the profit of Google Cloud did last quarter.
Sit down, stand up, and download that fact again. Google is making 1/10 the profit of Amazon when it comes to the cloud business. Who would have thought that?
Google Cloud is getting rained on by Amazon's cloud, and there's a flood. Let's put it that way.
Or Jack, is Amazon's cloud making it rain and Google's cloud is just a rainless crowd?
I think that's going to be a billboard off the 101 between San Jose and San Francisco.
The engineers are going to love it. Yeah, it is. If this deal goes through, Google has got a new selling point, the most secure cloud.
Because nobody beats the Wiz.
I was waiting for you to say it, Jack. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over? And everyone who has a thing. Like, I think that's what the takeaway is for here.
Every house has a lock. Everything digital will have one too.
Now, Yeti's interesting detail about Wiz's clients. It's not just random software companies you've never heard of that uses the Wiz's cybersecurity.
It's also companies that make physical things, like BMW. That car company is a huge cybersecurity client of the Wiz.
Because if cars are now computers on wheels, as we've said they are, then a car can get hacked just like your email can.
In fact, experts agree that if a car is self-driving, there's a risk that hackers could take over and command the car.
Oh, and if your thermostat in your house is connected to the internet, that thermostat, that thing could be hacked too.
Every company that stores data on the cloud, which is most companies, they of course can get hacked too.
So the way Jack and I see it, we're all used to physical locks. Every house has one.
But now everything digital is going to need one too.
And that is why Google is making its biggest ever acquisition for a cloud cybersecurity company. Jack, could you whip up the takeaways for us for TBOY Tuesday?
Harley-Davidson has stopped trying to get young people to ride. They'll wait for you to get old instead.
It's the graybeard strategy. Their bet is that millennials will become baby boomers. Yes, you will turn into your mother.
For our second story, stocks rose as investors baked in a higher likelihood of a Trump victory in November.
Trump is making policy trades, and a big surprise winner could be Elon Musk and electric vehicles.
And our third and final story. Google is reportedly acquiring The Wiz for $23 billion to make their cloud the most secure there is.
Because every house has a lock, and everything digital will have a lock too.
And nobody beats The Wiz.
Nobody, it's just a fact.
But Yetis, this pod's not over yet. Here's what else you need to know today.
Spain, it is feeling royal again over in Barcelona, baby. What do we got, Jack?
The Spanish men's national soccer team won the Euro Cup, their fourth major tournament victory since 2010.
Oh, and then on the same day, Carlos Alcaraz won Wimbledon, not too shabby.
One of those things happened against England. The other one happened in England.
Spain, they're feeling like 1490 again. Jack, get that armada going.
And second, Burberry, the fancy British fashion company, is not living a royal life right now.
Burberry sales plunged 20% last quarter, and they issued a profit warning, and they fired their CEO.
While luxury sales overall are slowing, Burberry is facing a more specific issue.
There's just something about that beige plaid Burberry pattern. It's just not landing with consumers, and they are suffering the worst.
And finally, remember last month when we told you about the hot new investment trend? Buying dinosaur skeletons?
Dinosaurs. Jack and I have been trying to get into dino investments for years, or actually for centuries.
The entry price is pretty high to make an investment.
Yeah, some more private investors are buying dinosaur bones, like we told you, including one that goes to auction this week tomorrow.
A 27-foot, 161-million-year-old Stegosaurus is hitting the auction block tomorrow at Sotheby's.
Now, it's expected to go for $6 million, and you could bid on it, but then you have to ask yourself the big question.
What's the big question?
If I was so focused on whether I could, maybe I should have focused on whether I should.
Yeah.
Now, time for the best fact yet. This one whipped up by Savannah Westwood, a legendary Yeti down in Orlando, Florida.
There's a wild extracurricular course over at Florida State University in Tallahassee.
And Jack, what is that course exactly?
The circus.
Oh, it's the circus. Yetis back in 1947, and since then, Florida State has had the Flying High Circus.
Student performers rig up all their own equipment, sew their own costumes, produce lights and sound for an epic performance, and even erect a big tent on campus for their circus.
Yetis, the Florida State Seminole Circus generates its own revenue by hosting shows under its own big top circus tent, just like the Big Apple Circus.
In Gainesville, they've got gators. In Tallahassee, they have trapezes.
It's the only college we know of with a circus.
Clowns. You either love them or you enroll them.
What's your major again down at Florida State, Jack?
Oh, my major? It's balancing on a spinning ball while balancing another ball on my nose at the same time.
One sec, Jack. I got a term paper due for Cirque du Soleil. Yetis, you looked fantastic for TBOY Tuesday. Jack, you were glowing over there. I heard one of the Yetis wanted to get your skincare routine, by the way. Are you going to share that thing?
That's right. I finally got a compliment of my physical looks in a YouTube comment.
Yetis, Jack will respond on YouTube detailing all 46 steps of his 2-hour routine. I got to see it last week.
Yeah, it was less a compliment of my looks, more a compliment of my product, apparently.
Well, I've seen you without the makeup on, and I also think that looks fantastic.
Now you're making me blush.
And besties, before you go, if you've got a gadget graveyard we should add to our gadget graveyard, let us know.
Comment on YouTube, Instagram, or Spotify, and Nick and I will be with you tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that.
We'll fax you, and then we'll scan you, and maybe, just maybe,
we'll buy a Harley someday.
Jack and I will see you for some Ceviche Wednesday. And before we go, congratulations to Yeti's Rob and Justina Lewin from Riverside, California. 30-year anniversary. Not too shabby. Congratulations, guys.
And congratulations to John and Karen Engerman, the new Papa Banana in Mahwah, New Jersey.
Their new granddaughter, baby Louise Joy, she was just born and she's looking fantastic.
Happy 40-licious birthday to Mark Thirstlick in Queens, New York.
Quench that thirst lick. And Jennifer Wang is turning 26 years old down in Hotlanta, Atlanta.
Although she's moving to the Big Apple for her new job, so she may ask you for some restaurant recommendations next.
Jenny, we got your back.
And to anyone else celebrating something today, make it a TBOY.
Celebrate the wins.
This is Jack. I own stock of Amazon.